Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to our webinar this morning. And hope everything is fine on your side and everybody is keeping safe with the situation that we know prevailing. Some of us are working from home, some of us in the office. So wherever you are, keep safe. Welcome again. Very good morning to you. My name is Kailash Ramtahal. I'm the Senior Territory Manager of Catalyst Business Solutions for the African region and Middle East as well. I have with us Jean-Baptiste Blanc. He's the EVP of Africa and Europe. He will be presenting us, just introducing us, Catalyst. And we've got Rahil Ghaffar from Virsec Systems. He's the Regional Director of Middle East and Africa. So thank you for joining us this morning. Good morning, Jean-Baptiste. Good morning, Rahil.
Good morning, everyone.
Excellent. So I welcome everybody, all the attendees today, this morning. This webinar is jointly organized by Catalyst Business Solutions and Virsec Systems Limited. As you know, the topic of this day is achieving zero trust during runtime. And this obviously will do it with Virsec security platform. The goal today, really, the takeaway is really to achieve cyber hygiene in our system, in our organization, against all the widespread and unauthorized access to our systems with online extortions, as we know, by financially motivated people. We know the latest example that I can give is the Colonial Pipeline in the US. Most recently, again, we've had SolarWinds, so we've got to be protecting ourselves with cybersecurity solutions. And we know cyber threats and attacks are becoming more and more sophisticated with new varieties and increasing volumes as well. So with that, we need to be protected. And one way to get protected is with our unique system that we'll be presenting today to you, which is the Virsec security platform. So with that, I leave you with Jean-Baptiste Blanc. Jean-Baptiste, bonjour.
Bonjour, hello everyone. Good morning. So I will just give you a quick presentation of Catalyst, 2 minutes, just to tell you that Catalyst has specialized in supporting public and private organizations in their digital transformation since 2002, mainly in Africa and Middle East region, as you can see on the map. So our HQ are in the US, in the Silicon Valley, and all the countries in orange are the countries where we have subsidiaries. And all the countries where we have a blue star are the countries where we have teams, local teams, like in Mauritius, where we have a team which is growing. All the countries in gray are the countries where we have had or are currently delivering projects for our clients. So we've been focusing on 2 things. One, for which we are quite well known, is our expertise on business applications, and in particular on Oracle applications. As an example, we just completed a project for a large organization in financial services, also present in Mauritius with Oracle e-Business Suite. And the second expertise is around cybersecurity, and we are very glad to have the opportunity to present Virsec solution today. We can, in that cybersecurity domain, we can assist you in audit, in protection, implementation, support, and training services to help you secure your SOC and make sure your teams know about the cybersecurity threats. So again, I'm very glad to be with you today and ready to answer any question about Catalyst or about our services. Thank you, Kailash.
Very good morning to everybody. This is Rahul. I hope I'm audible to everyone. Now, I'm here to discuss more about Virsec. What Virsec is all about today, we will hear. Thank you so much, Kailash and JB, for that introduction. They are our very strategic partners. Now, we're going to discuss more about, as I said, Virsec. Virsec is a runtime server security platform, which is, which protects only servers, does not protect laptop, desktop, or mobile devices. Right? Now, give me a quick moment. I'm just trying to, So here we are going to discuss about the zero trust model. I'm sure this term zero trust is definitely not something new. This has been existing from ages, just that it's not been implemented in a very good way so far, with a lot of precision, especially on the endpoint and workloads, the server workloads. But at the perimeter, even we hear this every now and then that zero trust is the right approach to go about. I'm here to discuss about how Virsec brings in precision with zero trust for your cloud workload protection, which is for your servers. How we do full stack protection on your servers with zero trust. Now, if you see, in the last 1.5, or maybe 2 years, although threats have been there throughout, but during the pandemic, which is the last 1.5, 2 years, we've seen a surge of these different kinds of attacks. Call it remote code execution, ransomware attacks, but there's one common name to it: zero-day. Right? Zero-day attacks, which have been, we've been hearing in the news every now and then. You must have heard of the Colonial Pipeline attack, the SolarWinds attack. That really shook our confidence. It's like eroding our trust, right? We've seen these attacks bypassing all the traditional or the legacy security defenses. Many a time we call these as next-gen security, but then, we've seen them failing because these attacks have been there. Just for example, SolarWinds has been there for literally 12 to 15 months before it was detected. Much before it was detected, it was there for 12, 15 months, right? It was exfiltrating data from the organizations and the customers of SolarWinds. What's causing this? Obviously, there's a huge attackable surface area, which is ever increasing, especially now, during the pandemic. That's become like an excuse. Now, people obviously are having their server workloads in the cloud. They're accessing it through, their homes, sometimes even mobile devices. They are there on the containers. We are going towards the serverless architecture. All of these are contributing factors towards your, increasing the attackable surface area. While this attackable surface area is increasing, you can see that, attackers are becoming more and more sophisticated with the kind of attacks they are developing. The attacks are becoming more and more sophisticated. They are running in the memory. They're making memory as the battleground. It's no more like the past where it is the commodity attack where they'll drop a file which gets immediately noticed based on traditional signatures of the legacy solutions. But instead, this comes in through, as benign data. It comes in as benign code, scripts, and bypasses all network perimeter security and even the host-based security legacy solutions and runs in the memory and latches on to the genuine code, legitimate code, and open backdoors. Right? And this is what we've been seeing across in all the different attacks which are making news today. Could be, as I said, memory attacks, remote code execution attacks on the Exchange server, or any kind of fileless attacks, script-based attacks, etc. They are obviously ahead of 2-3 steps ahead of the security solutions, the attackers. And the current tools, as I already said, the legacy, the traditional tools are failing to protect us. And one of the primary reasons is their dependability, their dependence on the past patterns, the past knowledge which they have. They are still relying on what they know from the past. They are trying to get what's the next coming in the future. And that's what is failing us, because the newer, zero-day sophisticated attacks have no resemblance from the past. They are coming out with newer techniques, which is totally new, has no resemblance, and that's where the legacy solutions fail, because they do not have a way to find out what is good within. Instead, they are still looking at or chasing the bad. Now, if you look at it, there's a renewed interest in zero trust. As I said, this term has been there for ages, but we are relooking at this term these days. It's very evident because of the, surge of these kind of sophisticated attacks. We need a model of more effective security, a solution which is able to protect us more effectively with a lot more precision. Now, we have been doing, as I said, zero trust at the perimeter level, but on the endpoints, on the workloads, it was, or rather, and in the past, it's been a little impractical for actually to, implement this zero trust because it had a lot of complexities associated with it. But, in the subsequent slides, I'll tell you how Virsec is able to come out of those complexities and with simplicity and in an automated fashion, how we are able to actually protect with the zero trust model across the different layers of the server. We do a full stack protection at host, memory, and the web layers very effectively. So what I'm going to discuss in this presentation will be primarily why your workload, your server protection is critical, which obviously you know much better than me. What is zero trust and how it relates to Virsec, or rather how does Virsec implement zero trust? And how do you extend the zero trust into your workloads rather than relying on the legacy solutions? How can you fix that security gap? And we are talking about application awareness even with the endpoint solutions. The endpoint solutions, EDR, EPP, are also talking about application awareness. How do you extend that to your workloads? And then how our application aware protection works with Virsec? And how do we fit into containers? Many of them are moving into containers, obviously in the cloud and containers. How do we fit into the entire scheme of things? We're going to discuss that in detail. So why workload protection is key? So if you see, software is becoming more and more modular these days. With the modularity of the software, if you look at it, it's definitely a good thing, which has been happening. But it also means you need to trust more components, different kinds of components, right? Now, the trust which you trust, the trust which you give to these different components is as good as someone saying that they have tested and secured the code, and you need to believe their words, right? So you have a web server, you have an application server in various environments, could be in containers or anywhere else. They need to communicate via APIs with other applications. There are various channels they are being accessed through. There are various communication is happening through different channels. As I said, APIs, or it could be somebody accessing through different channels. And there is multiple layers of the servers which are there. All of this makes it even more difficult for the security solution to actually pinpoint, or rather understand what's really going on. If there's a threat which is coming in, which is actually weaponizing at runtime, detecting those threats is beyond the capability of the traditional solutions which rely in the past knowledge, past patterns. Because all of these assemble in the memory and make that memory as a battleground where none of these solutions have visibility. And again, as I said, your server workloads could be in hybrid environments. It could be on-prem, it could be on the cloud, it could be containers, and all of them are talking to each other in most cases. So it's a very composite structure which is increasing the attack surface area. And your applications run continuously in the memory, and so does the threats. The threats come in a very benign fashion, like a script without having any kind of a hash or a signature which can be detected by traditional solutions. It hooks onto your legitimate application, opens backdoors through your legitimate application, hooking onto it. And it's like, for the world, for the legacy application, it looks like that the regular application, the legitimate application is talking to the outside world, and it goes undetected until one fine day, one smart person is able to detect through the logs there's something wrong happening. And then some signature comes out. Until then, everybody is blindfolded. And this goes on for weeks, months, and sometimes years. As I said, the examples in front of you, like SolarWinds for 12, 15 months. Then WannaCry, an age-old example, which has been there for 17 years before it was detected as a 0-day. There are many more examples which could be quoted. Now, Gartner is saying something very similar, that security and risk management leaders must address the unique and dynamic security requirements of these hybrid cloud workloads. We have to look into this problem. We have to address the security gap effectively. Now, Gartner has come out with a market guide, Cloud Workload Protection, CWPP. Obviously, there are various controls people put into their network at various checkpoints, various layers. We call it defense in depth. Obviously, if we put something at the perimeter level, like a firewall, next generation firewall, a web application firewall, at the host level, we put controls like HIPS, EPP, EDR, all very good, definitely very good. But in the order of workload protection controls hierarchy, which is most important? So Gartner is basically saying over here very clearly that the controls like anti-malware, HIPS, vulnerability shielding, server workload, EDR, behavior monitoring, these are all good, but these are optional components for servers. What we primarily need servers, or what is critical to protect on the servers, are memory protection, exploit prevention, application control, and system integrity assurance. And these terms are linked, basically. This cannot work in silos. Even if you deploy solutions today, if they are doing a part of these highlighted in yellow, they're doing it in silos. They don't speak to each other well enough. And that's where the gap arises. And especially their approach of looking into the bad, not looking into the good, really makes a big difference in the precision, lowering the precision rather. Now, with Virsec, we are able to look at the areas which are highlighted in yellow with a lot of detail. We are able to protect all the three, with all these three different mechanisms. And we cover what, we are able to do a full stack protection, as I said. Now, if you see zero trust, again, the same term which I'm harping on today, even NIST has come out saying that zero trust is a cybersecurity paradigm focused on resource protection. And if you look at it, they very clearly say trust is never granted implicitly, but must be continuously evaluated. Something which you trust today need not be trusted, tomorrow as well. It has to be, continuously evaluated. Look at our solutions like SolarWinds, etc. It went into, it's a trusted solution, but nobody could ever imagine that there could be a breach which could enter the customers through the SolarWinds, which kind of, as I said, shook everyone's confidence. So does NSA have come out with similar lines of, similar statements on the zero trust. So it's important to manage the application layer as well as the compute containers, regardless of where they are. Now, if you look at it, choosing bad versus ensuring good, how can we make a difference over here? Now, as I said, all the different security solutions, which are obviously innovative in their own way and have come out with different approaches, but one thing common between them is that they are all chasing the bad. They follow a blacklisting model. They are trying to find out what is bad, what's the next bad which is coming in, based on past models, based on past patterns, as I said, right? They are doing threat hunting, which is kind of an endless, infinite problem. It's like a cat and mouse story, wherein as I told you, the hackers, the sophisticated nation-state hackers, they are way ahead of the security solutions. They come out with innovative ways, and only after months and years, we come to know that there was a hack, there was a breach, right? So it's definitely not a great. It's definitely at this era, it's definitely not a great idea to find what is bad, or rather just depend on what is bad. Because attacks are constantly changing, they are becoming more and more innovative, and they don't have resemblance from the past. We need to move to a security model, a positive security model, which is what I'm trying to explain here, like a zero trust. We need to stop our dependence on the unknown. It's good to know the past, knowledge from the past, and try to compare what exists if it's been compromised, the existing servers, but it's very important to have a focus on a positive model to look at what's really good within your servers. Application awareness is extremely important, and everything should be automated. It should not become a burden on the SOC analyst or the humans, because humans are prone to errors. And if we depend on humans to find the bad, then that's where we are. We are depending on someone's skill set, which might differ from one person to the other, one individual to the other. And that's where we are prone for errors, and that's what takes time. Imagine somebody watching thousands of logs, and if he misses one or two of them, which were genuine attacks, that's it. The attack has already entered into your network. Your network perimeter has already allowed that particular attack to come in. That's what happened with SolarWinds. It's not that the attack is happening from outside these days. It could be an insider attack, or the attack could have just entered and then the rest of the magic happens inside. So it's very important to look into the workloads rather than focusing outside of it. Now, the zero trust security model, if you look at it, when we talk about it, one thing which comes to our mind is obviously there's no denying, no second thoughts about it. Zero trust initially obviously focused on people, devices, and networks. This is definitely very essential. The data which is being accessed by people, networks, devices, we need to look at these access controls, and we need to give, zero trust. We need to have a zero trust approach towards it and continuously evaluate that. But there's one missing piece over here, which I've taken from Forrester, obviously, which is the workload. We need to focus even on the workload when it comes to zero trust. We need to have that application awareness within the workload with a lot of precision and detail. We need to know what are the applications running within the server, not just the behavior, but at different levels, the files, the binaries, which should be part of the good. And at the memory level, how should it execute? We should know the DNA of it. And as I said, memory is the new battleground on the workload, where zero trust needs to be enforced. So why runtime security is different? Everybody is talking about that we do real-time security, while that is near real-time because we can't look into the process memory. Virsec is able to look at it during execution, during runtime, which I'm going to explain in a little more detail. If you look at it, most of your organization would already have solutions like these: firewall, IPS, WAF, which are primarily perimeter-based security. It's like a security guard of an apartment in the compound. What kind of a visibility will he have? What's happening inside the apartment? If somebody comes disguised through the gate, the maximum he can do is scan. He can't open the gift packet. He can just scan through the wrapper. But that's the amount of visibility your perimeter solutions have, because most of the data is encrypted. If the encrypted data is coming in, and whether it's legitimate, illegitimate, you do not have any idea until the source reputation is declared as bad. But that source reputation will be declared as bad only after you see something bad coming in, and that takes ages. So you kind of miss the visibility of what's coming in through the encrypted channel. It could be good as well as the bad coming in. And at the host layers, your EPP, EDR, or any kind of host-level security solutions cannot look into the memory. They are completely clueless. What's happening in the application, within the application memory? They have no idea about it. And this is where the code execution is happening, which is a black box for the others. This is where the illegitimate code is trying to hook on to the legitimate application, derail the legitimate application from its regular control flow integrity in the memory, and take control of it. Right? These different kinds of attacks, like as I said, remote code execution attacks, fileless attacks, weaponization and runtime kind of attacks, they are making their way very easily into your workloads, into the application memory, and then nobody has a clue what needs to be done next. So workloads, if you see over here, we are definitely, the foundational security is very good. The operational hygiene is extremely important, which I'm sure most of us already do. We already have solutions which look at the periphery of these workloads outside the process memory. To an extent, they follow the application whitelisting model as well. Many a time it's manual, not very automated, but they do a great job over there at the host level to detect the knowns. Where they fail is to detect the sophisticated attacks and the unknowns, which come as fileless payloads, as I said, and as runtime attacks. This is where you need to look into the process memory of the workload. This is where Virsec has that application-aware security, which can look deeper into the memory and should have knowledge of the application stack, the full application stack. It should be able to look at all the layers, the host, memory, and web. It should not be in isolation. It's extremely important. Now, so what does application awareness require? If we look at this, if you see how does Virsec achieve this application awareness? We are able to look at the host level. We are able to look at the host level about what kind of applications or what kind of applications or files exist on your servers. We are able to look into the packages, the MSIs, the PE data within these MSIs. We are able to look into it and look at the libraries which is coming along with it, the binaries coming along with it, and ensure that everything is pristine. We compare the hashes of these. We compare the publisher certificate. We compare the signed binaries to ensure whatever exists on the server is good, pristine, and that's a continuous and automated check which we continuously do. We're checking all the directories, the files, everything over here at this level to ensure that everything is good. Now, when we know the data on the server is pristine, we consider this as the golden image. Now, when these files get loaded into the memory, we are continuously checking the control flow integrity of the legitimate code, the way it is executing in the memory. Memory is divided into two parts. You can say the interpreter and the binary. We are looking at both of them with a lot of precision, and we are following a whitelisting model over here, which this is where we differ, and this is where we are unique over here. We have a lot of patents in the space, and if you look at it, the other solutions, the other legacy solutions, they are primarily dependent on blacklisting model over here. They are dependent on behavior monitoring. They are looking at the outcome of the execution. We are looking at the execution itself. Let me repeat, the other solutions are looking at after the execution is done, which is the outcome of execution, whereas we are looking at during the execution, before the execution gets over. That's a big difference, because after the execution is over, it displays a behavior which may or may not match from the past pattern. If it's something new, it's a new threat. That's where the other solutions fail, because they end up doing guesswork. Comparing behavior, outcome of execution is a guesswork. It's a probabilistic technology. They predict. It's written on their website. Whereas what we do is primarily looking at the execution flow of the program, we know precisely how the application is moving in the memory, and this is not pre-recorded data. This data, using our application memory maps, we are able to establish when the application gets loaded in the memory dynamically at runtime. We do it during runtime, which means each time the application is loaded, there's a new memory map created. Obviously, the application runs for weeks and months before it gets killed and reloaded for whatever reasons, but then we do it each time it is getting reloaded. There's a new memory map created dynamically as per the algorithm. And there's a continuous authorization happening. Continuously, we are checking if the application is not getting derailed. It's moving as per the developer intent. And to do so, we do not need any source code. We are looking at the memory level, at the binary level, after the compilation when the binaries are running in the memory. We do not need any kind of a source code for this. Third party or your source code. We do not need them. So over here, if you see, this is what, as I said, we are able to look at the host level, at the different files, binaries, libraries associated with the different scripts. We are able to whitelist them and everything being automated. And when these files, libraries get loaded in the memory, we are able to monitor their, CFI in the memory, the integrity in the memory, so that their integrity is not compromised by a malicious actor. So we precisely know what is good, and anything outside of good is considered bad. In other cases, if the new file or the new script or the new payload which is coming in does not have a bad reputation, it is considered good. In our case, if it does not have a bad reputation, that does not mean it is good. No bad reputation is not equal to good. It should have a good reputation. We are tracking that. Now, if you look at it, this is an example which very quickly I'll give you a high-level example. I'll be happy to deep dive on this on a one-to-one session to make you understand in a little more detail about how we work on whatever concepts I'm covering today. But just very quickly to look at what we do at the memory level. If you look at it at the application workload at the server, when I say application workload, it also means various applications on the server and operating systems. So when the application gets loaded in the memory, it's moving in a particular fashion from A to B, B to C, or B to D, and C to E. Once loaded, it has a specific trajectory to follow, which should not be derailed for that particular instance of run. These are basically various function calls which are calling each other. It could be a function A calling function B, a return function call from D to B, and so on. But once loaded in the memory, that does not change. If it changes, it means it's a compromise. That's what typically happens specifically in cases of buffer error or the advanced VROP kind of attacks, wherein the pointer of the legitimate code gets changed, and which means the application has got derailed. It's no more moving in the direction it was supposed to. And this is immediately detected by us during the execution, before the damage is done. We are able to detect and even protect against it. Whereas in other cases, these kind of attacks, which are termed as indefensible by the three-letter agencies like NSA, goes undetected at the execution stage by the legacy solutions. Which depend on signatures, behavior monitoring, sandboxing. They cannot detect during execution time because they cannot look into the memory. They detect only after the execution is over. And they detect only after if they match a pattern from the past. If this is something sophisticated, new, it goes undetected totally until one fine day is declared as 0 days, which, as I said, takes weeks, months, and sometimes years. So Virsec is able to map that code execution and detect that attack during runtime, during execution. And that's where our precision is. That's where the false positive is close to 0 when it comes to Virsec. Because we are not predicting here. We are not looking at any kind of application behavior. Behavior, let me reiterate, is actually guesswork, probabilistic technology. What we are talking about is the execution flow, which is precise. And we are basing this on a zero trust model, which is which we are evaluating on a continuous basis. These fit into containers as well. Many of us think, since containers, before they get loaded, they get scanned, the chances of, being attacked is much lesser, or there aren't any chances of being attacked, but that's actually not true. They are equally, they can equally get compromised just like the others because of the runtime nature of the new sophisticated attacks. The attacks can come in during runtime and they can attack even, applications running within containers. Because you do not know about the vulnerabilities. The newer vulnerabilities, until you do not know about the newer vulnerabilities, you do not have a signature for them to protect against the newer attacks which would exploit these vulnerabilities. Whereas in our case, we do not depend on the past patterns. And regardless of the vulnerability, whether it's a known or an unknown one, we are able to protect it from being exploited. Because we do not depend on malicious signatures alone. We primarily focus on what is good. Now, if you look at it, containers, as I said previously, they increase the attack surface area of the workloads, which means add to the problem. They are definitely good for many business reasons, but remember, they add to the security issues. So we have to ensure that the workloads, whether they are containers, they are cloud, or wherever, they need to be protected adequately with an application-aware solution which focuses on a zero-trust model. So, summarizing in a few slides, in the next couple of slides, if you look at it, we are able to protect your application workloads across different environments, whether your workloads are on-prem, it's on a physical bare metal server, it's in a virtualized environment like a Hyper-V, or a VMware, or a Nutanix, or whether it's in the cloud. It could be AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, Oracle Cloud, or it could be a serverless architecture. It could be in containers. We protect all of them. We are able to protect all of these. We are quite platform agnostic. And I've already detailed about the different ways in which we can protect, and I'm more than happy to go into the weeds of it on a one-to-one basis. Please feel free to reach out to us for that. And, we'll be happy to have a detailed session on the different kind of, these concepts in detail and the kind of different kind of customers across different verticals, the way they are benefiting from us. There are various customers which we have across globally who've been adopting us, from the Fortune 500 companies in US, as well as in Middle East. We have a lot of customers in various verticals, from the banking sector, from the government entities, from the telcos, from the health sector, a lot of names, a lot of them from Fortune 500, Fortune 1000, and some from Fortune 100 as well. We'll be more than happy to share the details about how they are benefiting and how you could replicate the same thing in your environment, how you could benefit from it. We would love to understand your setup and guide accordingly. So again, we are able to let you know we are able to protect at the host, web, and memory level, and the best part is we do it during runtime without any kind of a guesswork. It's a full stack protection with complete runtime visibility, the visibility which you get, the forensic details which you get with Virsec, which will be a lot more deeper than any other solution, legacy solution which currently is deployed. Again, the main reason being we are able to look into the memory which the others cannot. This is by virtue of our patent, and this could actually be used. This data could actually be used in numerous ways. Basically, you could parse this data, the output of our forensics, and make your existing investments, your security investments, more intelligent. You could actually use this data and feed them as IOCs to your existing security solutions, which will fail to detect any zero days, which we will detect much ahead of time. And they can be made smarter to block against the attacks which are going to come in. immediately after that. And these could be perimeter security solutions, which can be made smarter automatically using our, forensics, which can work as intel for them, as signatures for them. Now, I will probably open it up to questions. Kailash, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
With me, but maybe I may not have enough time. I will be happy to show this demonstration during the one-to-one session in a little more detail.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rahil. That was very enlightening and very, very interesting indeed, knowing all the threats and the attacks that we are getting from all around the world, plus the protection that we need actually to make our work more comfortable and without any issues. So I open the floor for any questions, any comments, or any feedback that you may have. Please feel free. It's your webinar, and just shoot any questions that you may have to Rahil. He will be very happy to answer all your comments, all your questions.
The questions could be from competition, it could be from understanding about your current security posture, how you could make it more secure if you think there are security gaps, or if you think you do not have security gaps because you have all the different solutions already in place. It could be just anything around securing your servers, anything related to your servers, the solutions which protect your servers. Feel free to ask them. And it could be anything related to what I've covered so far and you've missed out. Maybe I was not articulate enough. You could mention those details as well. I'll be happy to, mention a little more, elaborate a little more on this.
So, Rahul, we have a question. It says, how does Virsec compete against the likes of Trend or Prism Cloud and so on?
Trend and?
Prism.
Okay. So if you look at it, solutions, let's take an example of Trend where we've been able to, they are a great solution. I mean, nothing to demean them. They are definitely excellent EDR solutions. They do a great job in their own space. They are leading vendors. But one of the things each of these vendors, do, the EDR vendors, they are, again, as I said, focused primarily on what is bad. They are chasing what is bad. They're going after that. They're looking at the threat patterns from the past, and they are trying to decide or conclude on what is the next bad coming in, and that's where each of them are basically failing. So if you look at it, these vendors like Trend Micro Deep Security, Carbon Black, or each one of them, they do a great job as a host security solution for detecting the known attacks, well-known attacks. But when it comes to the unknown attacks, since they depend on the past patterns, sandboxing mechanism, behavior monitoring, they do not detect the unknown attacks, especially the sophisticated ones, primarily because they do not have any resemblance from the past. And these solutions primarily focus or rather protect at the host level security. And when it comes to the memory level, that's where they are a little jittery. They cannot protect very well because they can't look into the process memory. And at the web, obviously, they don't claim to protect at all. Whereas in our case, when it comes to Virsec, we protect all the three layers together with precision, and we have that application awareness. We are able to look at the host, web, and the memory layer together. We're able to stitch the three together, and we are able to, our solution being a single agent, single memory sensor is able to see all the different kind of payloads coming from different channels and correlate this information, which is kind of missing in this different solutions which work in isolation. Please let me know if your question was answered, or else you can write back in your chat for more details which you may require.
We have one more question. How long does it take to implement the solution? Are there any limitations concerning OS?
So there aren't any limitations as such. We support the mid. So you're saying something? So we support the Linux, we support all flavors of Windows Server versions, and as I said, we are platform agnostic. These operating systems could be in containers, it could be in the cloud, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, or Oracle Cloud, or it could be on virtualized environments. We support more than 95% of the market this way. The server versions of Windows and Linux, we support them.
Thank you, Rahul, for answering those questions. If you have any further questions, please feel free to place them in the question panel, or we'll be more than happy to answer them.
Rahil, can you hear?
Yes, I can hear you, Jamie.
There was a question about the implementation timeline. How long does it take to implement?
Okay, a good question. So it differs from one network to the other, but typically based on past experience, what I would say, if the servers, let's assume, if there were about 200 or 300 VMs, we would be very well able to do it within less than about 2 weeks. 500 or 1,000 VM, we can pull it off within a month. So I hope that gives an idea about how we are able to implement, how quickly we can implement, because it's everything is automated. We just install our Virsec server components and we push the agents into the servers, which takes few minutes, seconds and minutes to install and report back to our server components, and all these server components are within your network, which means nothing goes out to the cloud. Everything is within your network, contained within your network, enterprise, your on-prem network or your hybrid network. Nothing communicates with our Virsec cloud, and you're up and running within, once you're deployed. And the configuration which you do, the best part, answer beyond your question as well. If you see, once we've been installed and configured, it's very low. You don't need to continuously put it in learn mode like the others, and you don't need to keep on configuring on a daily basis or depend on security updates. We do not have any malicious signature updates, and we are primarily looking at what is good, which also means once configured, you can almost forget it with very low maintenance, very less threat alerts in comparison to the rest.
Thank you so much, Rahul. We just have one last question, if you can take this, or we can take this offline. Can you tell us about the licensing models? So in terms of the licensing model, we are per VM based, per virtual machine, or you may call it per agent based, per host based licenses. So if it's a physical bare metal hardware, it's one license. If it's a virtual machine, that counts as a single license. So per VM license is what I would say, or per agent, per host licensing, which is a subscription, annual subscription. Happy to go into the specifics with the person who asked the question. Yeah. Thank you so much, Rahul, for that. That answers the question. Over to you, Kailash.
Thank you so much, Dave. Thank you, Rahil. We hope we have answered your questions. But again, feel free, even after you have my my email address, my phone number, so you can contact me anytime. In any case, I shall be getting in touch with you to have a feedback and probably meet you. As Rahil said, we can actually do a one-to-one presentation to deep dive into your organizations, your infrastructure, and see how we can help you out with your cybersecurity projects. So with that, I would like to thank all the people attending today. We'd like to thank everybody, and I know you've given your precious time. And you can also follow us on our website, on our LinkedIn page, on Facebook as well. So feel free, you can leave a comment. You can give us a thumbs up as well. That would be really nice. And you can follow us with all the cybersecurity information that we share a lot on LinkedIn. Wherever there are issues, there are problems, maybe you have faced such problems before, or maybe you want to actually be protected with those problems that other companies in other countries are experiencing. So we would be happy to help. So with that, I leave you, and thank you again for attending. We meet again very soon, and have a good day, and keep safe. Thank you, JB. Thank you, Dave. And thank you, Rahil. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.